For many who play Star Citizen today, their journey began here, high up in orbit above the Crusader gas giant, on a little station called Port Olisar. It's from within these hallowed halls that many of you met your first friends in Star Citizen, embarked on your first adventures, and stepped onto the flight deck of your favorite ship for the first time. And through the years, Port Olisar has remained our constant and faithful companion, serving as a reference point to see just how far we've come. But, like all great adventures who have a beginning, so too must they have an end. With the release of Crusader in 3.14, the need for a updated station is upon us, and so at the 11th hour, I invite you to join me to walk these decks for the last time, as I review with you its successes and shortcomings. But before we dive into the design of Port Olisar, why don't you consider diving into an audiobook from today's video sponsor, Audible. I've already been using them for years, especially on those long trips back to the States. Membership will give you a free credit that you can use every month on literally one of thousands of their audiobooks. So if you're interested and you wanted to help me out, head on over to audible.com/morphologist or text morphologist to 500 to get a 30-day free trial. And as a bonus, you'll get book one of my favorite science fiction audiobooks, The Expanse: Leviathan Wakes. I mean, seriously, if you're a science fiction nerd and you've not listened to this yet, I don't know what you're doing. Check it out. The first thing that early players of Star Citizen would have ever seen was this tiny little green space, the Easy Habs of Port Olisar. On further reflection upon this space after I did my Hab review video, I realized that this space hid a genius of CIG's early spatial design. You see, CIG could have designed the Hab any scale they wanted. They could have made it massive, but instead they chose to make it small. Almost too small to the point of feeling uncomfortable and even claustrophobic. Its true purpose then was to provide contrast to the spaces to come, a gradual building up of scale. Going from the Hab to the hallway, you get the sense that you're just one of many occupants of the station. Also note the distinct lack of visual connection to connecting spaces, the lack of windows. This too seems to have been intentional on their part, to hold back that final reveal to the last moment, to get that ultimate effect of awe. As far as wayfinding goes, Port Olisar still remains to be one of the best stations to navigate for new players. The first thing you see when you exit is a Deck 3 symbol, followed by an exit sign at the end of the hallway. They even cleverly disguise lighting devices to draw you near in the form of these soda machines at the end of the hall. So even without the signage, players understand which direction to go. On the opposite side, you'll find a well-designed waiting space surrounded by 2 bathrooms. It expertly employs a number of devices we use in the real world to bring prominence to a space, by raising it above the floor level and dropping the ceiling height directly above it, making it feel different and more intimate, and even bringing a brighter light level inside of that space, creating a comfortable divide between the circulation area and this intimate conversation space. Were I to redesign it, the only thing I would change would to possibly change the light color to something a bit warmer just for the conversation area. The language of the Habs, however, is different than the language of the rest of the station, demarking a clear difference in the use of the space. Where the Habs have soft curved edges, the rest of the station is hard-edged and angular, creating a slightly less welcoming and more utilitarian feel. Here too, you'll find a cleverly designed waiting space that employs something called a vitamin D screen, presumably to give you vitamin D in an environment where you're getting far less sun than a human likely would if they were living planetside. While as a space it's rather unremarkable, it serves as a storytelling device to describe the type of lives many people living on the station likely live. Another really great design choice by CIG at Port Olisar was to have occupants begin their journey above the other spaces so that they can naturally flow downwards, as humans tend to prefer to go downhill when experiencing spaces versus uphill as it expends more energy. Real-world examples of this idea being employed can be found in places like Omotesando Hills and Omotesando Tokyo, designed by legendary modernist architect Tado Ando. In his design, escalators and elevators are located prominently near the entrance, which bring users up to the top floor. From there, they're led down a continuous spiral walkway which leads you past every single store within the commercial complex, thus effortlessly removing the need for users to ever walk uphill, making traditionally far less desirable top floor tenancy much more appealing by bringing more customers to the top floor than traditional designs. Arriving at the first landing though, before getting down to deck 1, we discover that we're actually on a mezzanine overlooking a gigantic holographic display which serves as what we call in architecture a wayfinding device. They're used much as they sound, as a device to help users navigate spaces by creating a very memorable centrally located item that can be seen from many vantage points within the urban landscape, or in the case of a small piece of architecture, the design of a building or space. It's often used to draw your attention to a central meeting area or a very important component of the program. In the case of Port Olisar, this hologram effortlessly communicates to new players that this is an important place that needs to be investigated, drawing them unprompted to discover that this is the location of the ASOP terminals, the place that you pull your ship out and fly it for the first time. This space, I think, is a perfect case study in how design can communicate something important to the user without just plain signage, which isn't always effective as it can sometimes be overlooked by users or be overlooked because of a language issue. And that's why you'll find that more experienced designers and architects will tell you that the best designs guide users not through signage but through the design itself, because good design transcends language barriers. On the back wall just across from the hologram, you'll also find a 2-story art piece, which is actually a cleverly disguised device to help you understand your location in the Stanton system. It's kind of like a sign that you find around cities and large spaces that tell you that you are here. On the wall opposite to this art piece, you'll also find a help desk, which overlooks this space. Now, this administration desk isn't really used for much anymore. Originally, it's where you would drop off boxes. I am kind of sad to see this go. I think its position is extremely well situated, as it's where people will be drawn to after visiting the ASOP terminal. It's a place where you could ask questions, even though the NPC right now doesn't answer any. Just behind him and to the side though, you may have spotted cleverly peeking out through the doorway a window to the outside world, and this is where I suspect users would have next visited on their first trip into Star Citizen. It's your first look out onto the true scale of the space station on which you are living. It's no accident that it's through this window that you'll get your first peek at a gas giant called Crusader, because what better way to demonstrate scale in a game than to place new players next to one of the largest orbital body types in the universe. It beckons to the new player to go outside and explore, to see this thing up close. And yeah, you guessed it, it's another wayfinding device. On the opposite side of the station, opposite to these windows, you'll find a near identical set with an even larger lounge area that overlooks even more pads and more of the station. Another great thing about the position of these windows relative to the outside is that they overlook where players are spawning their ships, subconsciously letting the players know that that's where their ships are going to appear once they pull them out. While the spinning rings don't seem to have any real-world function, they also provide a way to, once again, give you an idea of scale in Star Citizen, but also provide a bit of visual activity in the scene. I also want to draw your attention to the lighting change in this space. Here, instead of the very bright, almost white lighting that you'll see in the inner spaces of the station, you instead see 3000K lighting or sub 3000K lighting, which makes it feel warmer and more comfortable relative to the bright outside world. On either side of the station, you'll also find on the periphery a series of different shops that will equip the users, the players, for their journey in Star Citizen, such as here at Garrity Defense. While these small shops are rather unremarkable in their design, where they succeed is in the fact that they're located prominently near the exits and clearly marked by both their signs and the color change in the wall that surrounds their stores. This means that players are reminded to resupply every time they leave the station. The color choices for these stores are also cleverly suggestive. Green suggesting the military, something you might need for defending yourself or going on the offense. Yellow suggesting construction or improvement, subconsciously signifying to new players that this could be a place to improve something. In the case of Dumper's Depot, it improves your ship with clearly laid out ship components. I think that this is something that the newer stations are unfortunately lacking. Because of the need to create a pipeline to more quickly pump out stations for the future star systems in Star Citizen, the need to partially automate the design and arrangement of spaces has become apparent to Star Citizen's landing team, which is why they spent no small effort to create a system that could automatically arrange spaces in the new stations that we have, which is then tweaked and guided by the designers to make it more accessible to users. However, the fact that it's being partially crafted by computers and not humans has created wayfinding issues in these stations. Often they're very difficult to navigate, and new players can struggle to find their way out. Much of the program isn't very accessible and must be found through signage or just plain trial and error exploration. And absent is a fantastic wayfinding device such as the one found in here in Port Olisar. My hope is still that they can tweak the new station designs to be a bit more similar to Olisar, where you've got a centrally located area that's easy to navigate to. But now it's time to take a look at one of the best parts of Port Olisar and something that we're sadly going to see disappear from Star Citizen. That is, with the way things are going right now. At Port Olisar, you step out of the airlock into the vacuum of space. A walkway here guides you to the pad that the ASOP terminal assigned your ship to, and the pads themselves also have a well-lit sign letting you know that this is indeed the correct pad to find your ship. Along the way, the hallway is dark, underlit, and compressed, intentionally to give you one last compression before the big reveal. The reason why Port Olisar still remains to be probably the best designed station in Star Citizen for new players is because it effortlessly gives you an idea of the scale of the universe of Star Citizen. You go from a tiny little space to a massive vista overlooking the largest orbital body in the Stanton system. I remember the awe this inspired in me the first time that I saw it, how it set my heart alight with wonder and awe for what CIG is trying to accomplish. But sadly, times they are changing, and Port Olisar has fallen well behind the current standards for stations. For one, A, B, C, and D struts are not interconnected, meaning if you spawn at one strut and your friend spawns on another, you've no way to get to one another without directly flying over or just EVAing, which is a bit of a cumbersome task. Port Olisar was also not designed to have ship-to-station docking, which has just come online, nor were Port Olisar's landing pads designed to receive physicalized cargo from the just-added cargo decks. But perhaps the final nail in the coffin is the fact that all its landing pads are fully exposed to the outside, meaning that pirates can easily come in and blow your ship up before you're even able to get it off the pad. Not to mention you, as a squishy player, are quite susceptible to a stray round meeting your face, which is why Luke Presley recently informed us that Port Olisar is set to be replaced. And that's gonna happen likely very soon, considering that things like physicalized inventory and the cargo refactor are all set to be in this year. But despite all of these flaws, Port Olisar will always have a special place in this citizen's heart. But what about you? What special memories do you have at Port Olisar? Was it your first introduction to Star Citizen? Please let me know down in the comment section below, and don't forget, if you wanted to show support for the things that I do and you also happen to be interested in audiobooks, don't forget to head on over to audible.com/morphologist or text code morphologist to 500-500. Progress in life is about transformation and improvement. Things will come and things will go, but as long as we hold them in our mind, they'll never truly be gone. And so I bid a warm farewell to a masterpiece of design. I hope to see you guys out there somewhere in the stars.